Regulars to this channel will recognise this pickup truck. This is a dear Tal. It is my Ford F150 Lightning Lariat extended range. I purchased a dear Tal back in June of 2022, and since then, at least on paper, this has been my truck, my daily driver. The reality is that most of the time, because my wife also works from home, this truck doesn't get used unless we are hauling animal feed, hauling wood, or hauling camera equipment for the channel. The fancy video shots you see when we do a review and you see the car driving along the road, they are filmed all with this truck. We put a camera rig in the back of the truck, or actually on the hitch at the back, that allows us to pivot and get great shots while we're driving along the road. And of course, it is also part of our backup power solution when the power goes out here in the foothills of the Coast Range in Oregon. And that has happened quite a lot. So today I'm going to give you an update on how the backup power system has been behaving. Mostly it's been behaving itself, and also tell you about a not a recall that I just got for this truck. Before we get further into today's video, I just want to acknowledge, yes, I'm holding the camera at a very weird angle. It is because it has been raining with torrential force today, and my glasses are covered in water, my hair is covered in water, my hat is probably also covered in water, but we wanted to get this video out because, as I said, we did get a not a recall notice. Now, this customer satisfaction program is to address an issue with the 12-volt battery in the truck, not the great big honking 131 kilowatt hour battery pack that extended range F150 Lightnings have. I don't know, because the wording of the letter said F150. It didn't say F150 Lightning, it just said F150. So I don't know if this is something that applies to all of the F150s made in this year, or if it's just a Lightning specific thing. But here's what the issue is. According to Ford, the 12-volt battery circuit that monitors the health of the 12-volt starter battery is being very pessimistic about how full that 12-volt battery is and the health of that 12-volt battery. It is under reading. So the battery itself may be healthy, but the onboard algorithm and the hardware that is checking that battery to see if it's healthy believes that the battery is not healthy when it is. Why is that important? Well, when it goes to do an over-the-air software update, if the truck believes that the 12-volt battery is not healthy, it won't let an over-the-air software update take place. If you are a regular to this channel, you may remember that last summer we had an issue with this truck's 12-volt starter battery. It was at a point where the truck was going, this 12-volt battery is not full enough for me to do an over-the-air software update, and therefore I'm not going to do an over-the-air software update. So it just refused to do any software updates. The remedy at the time was for Ford to install a brand new 12-volt starter battery under warranty, and since then everything's been just fine. I'm not sure if this customer satisfaction program is to address that same issue, and maybe the remedy that they gave me, which was to just replace the 12-volt battery, maybe that is something that's happened to other people, and then they've realized actually it's not the 12-volt battery, it's a separate thing in the vehicle that needs to be fixed. Or whether it's a separate issue, but the end result is the same. If your vehicle is affected by this, it will not do an over-the-air software update. And that's kind of a bummer, because over-the-air software updates for all vehicles are really useful. They allow you to get things fixed that you would otherwise have to go to a dealership to have fixed. They allow you to receive new features. My most recent over-the-air software update addressed some new functionality that will eventually unlock Blue Cruise 1.3, allowing my truck not only to do hands-free driving on the roads it can currently operate on, but allow it to do it hands-free driving, what they call hands-off, eyes-on driving on more roads, handle corners better, I understand, and also eventually do automated lane changing or semi-autonomous lane changing, which is something that we've got in our Chevrolet Bolt EV thanks to the comma 3 system and OPGM. If you want to see a video on that, we'll link to it below. The 12-volt battery in the F150 Lightning lives under the frunk in a section kind of at the back of the frunk. Is kind of just down here. I'm not going to show you because the light is really poor today and you won't be able to see it, but we've got some B-roll we'll put up on the screen right now showing me doing that in the past. A much bigger, more heavy me doing it, but you'll see the video anyway. I don't know when we will get that fix applied. Obviously, Ford says in its letter that basically we've got a year to go to the dealer and have that done free of charge under this program. And because it's not a warranty issue, it's not like a safety recall where the vehicle has to have it done. It's down to me, the owner, as to whether I want it done. If I opt not to get it and then I run out of time to have it done, I don't believe that I can then have it done for free at a later point. So if you are an F150 Lightning owner, do check to see if your vehicle is affected. The reason why that 12-volt battery is really, really important for software updates is, unlike a computer, which will just say, hey, can you plug into the mains power if it's a laptop or if it's a desktop? Oh, I just need to be on to apply the update. These vehicles, any vehicle that has an over-the-air software update, is relying exclusively normally on that 12-volt battery to provide power, not only to download the update, but to apply the update. And part of that update process includes writing new code to the vehicle. And if there was a loss of power during that, you'd end up with a bricked vehicle, one that wouldn't drive. And Ford obviously is very cognizant of that. There was a recent recall, there was a recent issue involving an over-the-air software update in certain Ford Mustang Mach-E's that was leaving cars bricked because there was an issue with the update. It wasn't caused by a low 12-volt battery, but it shows these are basically giant computers on wheels and you have to treat them right when you do a software update. Talking of software updates, let's pivot and talk about this. This is our Ford Charge Station Pro, and whenever there is an over-the-air software update for our F150 Lightning, this gets a software update too, as does this. This is our home integration system. This is made by Delta. The charging station is made by Siemens. And this is all part of the Delta system. So this is the dark start battery, or DS battery. This operates very much like the 12-volt battery in my truck. It keeps things ticking over when there's no power. This gets its power from the grid most of the time. But if there is a power cut, this battery is essential because it's this battery that provides the required DC power to this to then tell this to talk to that to start powering your home. And over the new year and throughout the month of January, we've had several instances where we've lost power. We're out in the country, power cuts are common out here, which is one of the reasons why we decided to buy the home integration system. And it's kind of pricey, $10,000 all in. We ended up taking out a loan to fund it, and at the end of the video I'll talk to you about my own personal feelings on this. I have some regrets, or regrets as some of my friends like to say, but now it's working. I think it's going to be okay. So just before the Christmas break, my F150 Lightning got an over-the-air software update. It was a big one. It added those extra features to prepare the groundwork for Blue Cruise 1.3. This did not immediately get a software update. And after the truck had had its update, it and the Charge Station Pro, they stopped talking to one another. You could still charge the truck with this, but when there was a power cut, it just sat there and did nothing. So what we ended up having to do was forcing this to apply the software update that in Ford's app said was pending. Like a lot of modern tech, software updates are downloaded in the background and they just sit there until you reboot the smart thing, and then the software update applies. And that was what was needing to happen with this. Now, you could take off this plastic cover, undo all of the screws, and on the motherboard for this unit is high voltage that you should not touch, as well as a whole load of other things that you should not touch. But there are reset buttons inside this unit, but that is not supported by Sunrun or Ford. It's not endorsed by them, and it's certainly not endorsed by me. But if you are a Sunrun or a Ford engineer, you can actually take this apart and do the reset from this. But there is a safer way of forcing a reset, and I'm going to show you how to do it now. In order to do that, you have to download something called the M Professional app. It's available on the App Store, and it's what they use to install these. Once you've got that app, go ahead and open it up. And before you connect to your Delta inverter, you have to turn off the power. Now, I've already done this once. So I've got a screen recording from my mobile phone from earlier when it was bucketing down with rain and I hadn't turned on the camera. So here I've got two breakers. This one is the main breaker that provides power to the house. I'm not going to touch that, but I'm going to turn off this one, which is the 100 amp dedicated circuit that powers this charging station. If you watch, when I flick it, it goes to green, because then the Charge Station Pro goes, oh, there's been a power cut. The next thing you need to do is to look for your breaker that provides power directly to this. And in this case, it's a blade switch here. So you turn that off, and then you don't have any mains power going to this unit. The next thing you have to do, if you have a battery backup system attached, which I don't, is to make sure that there is a little switch under here. You have to make sure that is in the off position. Because we don't have a battery, it's always in the off position for us, so we don't have to touch it. So with those switches turned off, the next thing you need to do is open up your M Professional app, and it will ask to pair with this, your Delta inverter. It will ask for the date code, which on this unit is actually on a barcode on the side of the unit, which is not very security conscious if you ask me. But you enter in your build code, and then it will give you access to the menu system. And what you need to do is go down to the bottom where it says extras, and then you need to go to DS battery, and then you'll need to press the button that tells the system to shut off. And once you've done that, this battery will go through a power down cycle. It will stop providing power to this, and everything will go cold and dark. And at that point, you'll start hearing beeps coming from up here. The beeps are coming from the power circuits inside here. This is where the contactors are that switches over between the grid and your backup system. That's the thing that's required by law to make sure that you're not backfeeding power to the grid and electrocuting line workers when there's a power cut. So you'll hear beeps coming from that because it stopped getting power from the Ford home integration system and it is upset. I normally wait about half an hour. This light will have gone off. If you've told the dark start battery to turn off, it will go off too. And then once that has all happened, you can then go back and flip this again and then come back in here and turn on your charger. And again, it will go blue and then everything will be fine. Now, why am I telling you this? Well, like I said, we had a power cut very early in the morning one day around the Christmas holidays. I came outside in my pajamas to try and get the truck to start providing power to the house, and it refused. I thought, okay, well, I'll maybe just go for a drive up the road because there's a 5-minute timeout. If it fails, you have to wait basically for 5 minutes for the home integration system and the Charge Station Pro and the truck to start being friends again. So I decided to just take the truck up the road and do a loop and come back. And when I came back, the power had come on, so it wasn't an issue. But then a few days later, we had a power cut just after Em had arrived for work. It was about 8:30 in the morning. The power went off, and try as we might, we could not get the home integration system to talk to the truck. And I checked at that point and the app said, yeah, there's an update pending. If the power is off and you go through that shutdown procedure I just told you, you will not get any backup capabilities until the power comes back on. The only way to power that dark start battery back on is to apply mains voltage to that circuit. So once you've told it to turn off, if you don't have any mains power, you're screwed. So what we did instead in that instance was to power the house, the essentials in the house, like the refrigerator and the computers that we needed to do work, using extension cables from the back of the truck. And that's a lengthy process, and it's a laborious process, and it's a trip hazard because you've got cables running through the house. And I'm sure that OSHA would be very unhappy with us for doing that. So after that power came back on and we were out of that power cut, what we then decided to do was try and figure out why this wasn't working. And I'd sent a sarcastic email to some of the folks at Sunrun and Ford and was like, really disappointed, it stopped again. And then I realised, I wonder if that software update has got something to do with it. And by telling the system to power down, completely turning it off, waiting half an hour and then turning it back on again, that software update, the one that was shown as pending, applied, and then this started talking to this. And we actually ran a test shortly after I'd turned everything back on, and as luck would have it, during the test, we were about half an hour to an hour into the test, I got a message on my smartphone from our local utility going, your power is out. Don't worry, we're working on it. And the truck was powering the house, and it continued to power the house throughout the power cut. I actually turned on all the breakers again so that when the power did come back on, it just automatically switched over, and it did, and it was fine. And then a couple of days later, when we had some bad weather again, it did the same thing. It turned on when the power went off, and it was just fine. I have tested it another 3 or 4 times since then, and it's worked flawlessly every single time. It works when the Bluetooth receiver, which is behind that door, can actually physically have a direct line of sight to this. If I park further over on the driveway, the metal in the garage, it stops the Bluetooth signal from reaching the Charge Station Pro. And while that is a pain in the butt, I've got to say it's better than what we previously had. So I know there will be people in the comments section railing against us for having this system and calling us idiots and fools. That's the trendy thing to do these days, is to call people fools and idiots. But the reality is that in order to properly evaluate a system like this, it is bleeding edge, and you do have to sometimes cut yourself, metaphorically speaking, in order to properly test the system. Now it seems to be working. I think 2 years ago, had I known how unreliable the system would be to this point, I may not have jumped in and purchased it. But I am glad I got it, because the times it has worked, it has been invaluable. We have no backup power here other than electricity. Everything is electrically powered here. We have no gas, we have no oil, we have no wood stove, and because of where we live, we can't easily put one in. So over Christmas, when it did work, it was very much a welcome helper. Thanks for joining me today, and if you've got thoughts, make sure you leave them below in our Discord chat room, or you can reach out to us on Mastodon. Thanks to the amazing list of people scrolling by on your screen right now. They are some of the more than 1,500 people who help fund this channel through Patreon and YouTube, covering our bills, paying our team, and making sure that we can be 100% independent. If you'd like to join them and see your name listed here, just follow the links below. There are a range of different tiers you can sign up for, from as little as $1 a month, or if you pay yearly, about $10.08 per year. A huge welcome to our newest supporters: Tantalus A. Bond, Michael Baker, Christopher Lawrence, David J. Stober, Noah Tutak, and Ian Hoffman. To join the list and get your shout out, become a paid Patreon member for your week of fame. If you'd like to support us with a one-off donation, you'll find links below to make Ko-fi and Bitcoin donations, and we even have an old-fashioned PO box you can reach us at, address also below. And if you're in need of some swag, you'll find our swag store in the down below. This month, we're celebrating electric for everyone with an amazing new t-shirt design by our in-house artist and animator, Erin. Get yours today by heading to our Redbubble store. We've got some fantastic content coming up, so make sure you're subscribed on PeerTube or YouTube, and we'll see you very soon. We make new videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. If you want more, the mighty algorithm thinks you'll like this video, but we all think that this one is also well worth a look. See you soon, and as always, keep evolving.